Hi. These guys who are diagnosed. I'm fantastic. Could you be Greg's sister by any chance? Just checking. Did you guys
Yes.
and where are you from?
Springfield.
Which high school did you go to?
Southeast.
Oh. I'm a Lanphier Lion. So
Okay.
Former Lanphier Lion.
Yes, this is fake Greg.
Yeah.
Well, so you're filling for Greg. Welcome.
Thank you.
Just know that when we start seeing
You don't know Bizarro
stuff,
Superman? And
Greg just does this.
It's just like,
It's the old teacher look.
Yeah.
I'm a teacher, so I understand it.
Is he coming?
So feel free, kids.
Where do you teach?
Well, I guess I just quit doing that, didn't I? I just took a position at high school as a assistant.
Okay.
So,
Congrats. Good. How are you? If that's what you want.
well, that's why I'm back there talking to the local cops and figure out those will be the kids I get to deal with.
Yeah.
I did.
all discipline. Are you ready? We're good?
Camera's good. In about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
All right. 6 p.m. We'll call this regular village board meeting to order. If you'd all please join me in a moment of silence. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk, would you take the roll?
Trustee Nice. Here. Trustee Try. Here. Trustee Ferguson.
Here.
Trustee Charo.
Present.
Trustee Gerger. Trustee Fletcher.
Present.
Village President Kimsey.
Here. Any public announcements this evening?
You brought notes. That's scary.
With the Shadow American Legion and the VFW. All right, thank you. August the 28th and September 4th at the VFW, we're having Sunday Fun Day music. It's local groups that are coming in. That's from 3 to 6 p.m. And there will be food trucks there. And on the 4th, it's supposed to be an ice cream food truck, and it's supposed to be delicious, so look forward to that. And then on September 9th at the VFW, karaoke night at 8 p.m. And I hate to depart good company, but I've got a major remodeling project going on. I was gonna be there at 8 o'clock in the morning to put the floor down, so I got a bunch of work to do.
Go take care of Dodie.
I will leave everything in your capable hands.
We appreciate it, Les.
Okay.
Thanks, Les.
Take care, sir.
Any public comment on agenda topics? Hearing none. No old business. Item 1 under new business is a resolution approving transportation planning agreement for the year 2023. I have a motion to bring this to the floor, please.
Motion.
Trustee Nice made a motion. To a second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Charo.
You got to start looking this way, pal. I had my hand up before
I
that.
can hear you, John.
Back in school.
Aye.
Back in school already?
Back in school.
Any discussion on the annual SATS agreement? Hearing none. Mr. Clerk.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Ferguson.
Yes.
Trustee Fletcher.
Absolutely.
Trustee Nice. Yes. Trustee Try.
Yes. Item 2 is an ordinance amending the village code regarding the Village Green Program as it pertains to commercial properties. Can I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Charles made a motion to second. Second.
Fletcher would like to do that.
Trustee Tries seconded. Any discussion? This extends the fee for branch pickup and leaf pickup into the commercial property billing, having adopted that new contract at the last meeting. Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Clerk.
Trustee Try.
Yes.
Trustee Nice. Yes. Trustee Fletcher.
I think it's an absolutely great idea. Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
Trustee Ferguson.
Yes.
Item 3 is a resolution of support for Network Transmission Systems, Inc. Could I have a motion to bring this to the floor?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Ferguson has made a motion. Second.
Second.
Second by Trustee Charo. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? So moved. I have a motion to bring the consent agenda to the floor.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Charles made a motion. Do I have a second?
I think Mr. Tri got that.
All right. Second by trustee Chai. Any discussion regarding the warrants or the minutes? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, would you take the,
Trustee Tri.
Yes.
Trustee Nice.
Yes.
Trustee Fletcher.
Yes.
Trustee Ferguson.
Yes.
Trustee Charo.
Yes.
is there any public comment on general village business? Which will have a pause. If you wanted to talk during the committee, you can do it now too. Comment away, Darlene. That's fine. We can take it now. We have time before that meeting starts.
Less.
That could be less.
Oh,
Not.
Oh, he'll be back.
you can't call him.
That's his phone. You can't call him.
One person go forward.
You can just set it right there, darling. Thank you. We'll get hold of you somehow.
Only if you had.
Mine is just a question, it's rather dumb, maybe, I don't know. My question is, I noticed that on the warrants that we paid like 11,000 and then we paid a couple of thousand for general water investigation. When we pay something like that, do each one of you trustees get a report on what that is? I mean, does somebody ask you if they see you out and about, or do they email you and ask you what the water investigation was?
Is this a question I can answer?
It's, when that shows up on the list, and Pat can tell you any question you have on the warrants, the trustees get the warrant list, the same one that you see, and if they have any questions about any specific warrant, they ask. So they're prepared to
So
vote
if they don't ask, they don't get a copy of the report, or?
There's not a report. That's the label that is used when our water engineer is engaged. So it could be called anything really, but that's his billable time for our water engineer.
Jim checked with Bill, and he did coordination with CWLP for our backup water supply when South Sangamon was doing some repairs out there. He did troubleshooting on our velocity pumps with the village staff. He did coordination with the village and South Sangamon on a temporary interconnect during that tank cleaning. Discussion on monitoring with the village for the manganese. A couple weeks ago, the lady came in with the manganese. So they've gone and they flushed their ground storage tank and their clear well. Both of those have been done. And then Bill reached out to the makers of the microfibers to see if there was something that they could do in conjunction with the microfibers to be able to also be able to keep the manganese from coming through our system and coming over to Chatham. And he was doing some identification of budgetary items for improvements to the village water supply. So
there really is a report.
well, no,
It's a summation of what you did.
it's a series of projects that he worked on for us over that month. And CM&T, when they get us the bills, if they're within a certain amount of time frame, then they get on the warrants. This past time, there was 2 months worth of work that was done.
I assume
So that's why it was in there twice.
Okay. Answered my question.
Thank you, darling.
Thanks for asking.
Schedule of meetings is published. With no need for an executive session, so I'll take a motion to adjourn the board meeting.
I would like to make the motion.
Trustee Fletcher's made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by trustee Nice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Board meeting stands adjourned. We'll start a committee at 6:15.
Now, just warning to everyone, the camera's still on, so it's recording.
Yes, for those of you who've never been here before, the camera doesn't stop.
Everyone's looking at me.
Yeah, it's supposed to be for President Fletcher.
But it's also the point where we normally have our attorney does just improv comedy, so.
That's where we boost our ratings. That's where we boost our ratings. Is that
I'm going to use the restroom.
We almost always go from 2 viewers to 3.
Are you back in school?
Yeah.
Yep, a short summer.
What is going on
We're at a different
over at the
school.
high school tonight, John? What's going on over at the high school tonight? There was a lot of cars there. Oh, try it.
17th,
A lot of band camps.
yes. With 99.9% confidence. I think so.
I do it usually, you know, right after the fair or during the fair or.
It is, it's, yeah. It is, right, yeah, the
I think
fair.
the fair starts in a couple of days. And I don't know.
Thursday. Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, I think it's
Oh, the fair starts this weekend.
What?
The fair starts this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
It's manganese. Huh? Do we have a report? Yeah. Because everybody knows that it's. There's only one person that doesn't know what that is.
That would be me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna have to take my glasses on and off.
What?
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Because I can't see out there if they're on.
Time for readers.
These are readers.
It is.
Oh,
Ready?
well, yeah.
That's right.
I'm with you.
That's right.
I need a chain,
I can get away.
like a
I can
librarian.
get away with what? Yeah.
You should. I believe that we will.
If I take my contacts out, I can read like a champ. I won't.
That's, yeah, I mean, I've got no picture.
I can take my contacts out and see just fine.
That's big.
But I won't know that's Tim over there.
It's going to be a good year. I'm excited about it. One of those days.
I
Yeah,
don't
the
know.
best time for me to read is after I get ready for
I'm
bed.
looking forward to getting in
Take
there.
out my contacts. I'm like, oh, I'm good to go. I can read now.
I can't see anything up close. But I can see everything far away.
There you go.
Avoid what I can't see.
Well, it's pretty.
I know what I can't see.
Maybe wishful thinking.
Well, I'm just explaining why I'm taking my glasses on and off tonight because
Look at this. We
I
got to
can't
go.
see
I'll
any of
play.
this stuff.
Hey, yeah.
The last couple meetings I've printed
There you go.
larger font.
Matters.
I didn't do it this
You
time.
ready?
No, I mean, I'll just do my glasses.
Well, you like you probably have to go in there and share stories, right?
Do you need that?
Oh, you did. Look at you, see?
It's called helping everybody out.
Because there's nothing that looks worse than.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm gonna be doing now. 'Cause
I am telling you now, numbers are getting harder for me. Like the 6s and the 8s and the stuff that look right. That's getting harder for me.
to see them.
When the zero has the diagonal.
Oh, yeah.
When Davis. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
Not mine.
The
Okay.
way that does all that is on.
So you just send out,
What?
you just send something out to him then in the mail or email.
I'm gonna email it to you. I did not have the email address. Very helpful.
Why not, dude? I mean, it sounds like an unbelievably great experience.
Class, you're back.
Hey, all right.
Did you forget something? So tomorrow's the 10th.
Mars is good. That's why you expect it probably by the end of the week. See, you play golf?
No,
Okay.
he used to love it, but he plays hockey. And he doesn't do that anymore either. He would die.
Come on. Be with a couple buddies.
Yeah. Thanks. Should have said thank you very much. Next time, yeah. That's awesome.
David, our group text.
Was the weather good for you?
I mean, he sent out a text message probably every half hour today. And finally, at the end of the day, I sent him a response.
That's awesome. How could it not be? For sure.
Yeah.
That's
Hopefully not that
no.
I'd be okay if they,
We
well, I'll tell you,
when we go in the winter, we leave,
they don't want you throwing that many rains.
and it's typically to Puerto Rico.
I know.
So that's where we'd spend a lot of our time.
I bet it like
Me and my wife did just go down there. We went down there for 3 days, though it was for work. There was not a lot of fun. It was a grind. But we got some very important things done. We were down there. Flew. Yeah.
Their pitcher has a nice 5.75 ERA.
you know, it's Colorado.
I have a little thing going down there. We have a couple of properties that we rent out down there. Still value.
I've been given my cue. It's time to start the committee of the whole. 6:15. We'll call this meeting to order.
It's ordered.
All right. Clerk, can you take the
Trustee
roll?
Try. Here. Trustee Nice.
Here.
Trustee Ferguson.
Present.
Trustee Fletcher.
I'm here.
Trustee Gerger. Trustee Charo.
Present. Are there any public comments on the agenda topics? Hearing none, we will move to the consent agenda, and that is not currently available, but it will be at the next meeting.
That is my error because the minutes are not done. I forgot.
You didn't even have to confess.
But hey, full disclosure.
You're a good man.
For that, yeah. There's no old business. The new business, we have the CMT engineering update.
Batteries probably went dead already. I'll just talk loud. Talk loud. Perfect.
You want this?
Am I?
We'll just all point them towards you.
Come on up.
We're picking you up.
So, a couple items here. I know Pat handed out a sheet that was entitled Bad News, so we'll get with bad news first.
Thanks, Fern.
Who's the engineer here?
It doesn't work. Batteries.
Go ahead, Jim. Still doesn't work. Okay, just making sure. Sense an engineering joke there.
Microphone doesn't
I just wanted to appear on camera for this evening.
You got his haircut today.
Yeah.
New shirt.
Okay, so yeah, Pat handed out the sheet there entitled Bad News. So what we have is we put out two bids for the MFT projects, one being Gordon Drive, overlay from Walnut up to the village limits there by Oak Brook, and then the other one was patching on Plummer Boulevard in anticipation of a future overlay project. So in terms of the bids received, we did receive two bidders for each project. So for the patching job, it was a GM Sipes bid out at $129,830, and then Kinney Contractors bid out at $114,916. So earlier this year, when we did the maintenance resolutions, it's the money appropriated from MFT, we had $75,000 in there for those bids. And then when we pulled together the engineering estimate associated with those, we had anticipated $96,580 for the totals on that contract. So as you can see, we are over those estimated engineering amounts and appropriated amounts. So the climate in talking to the contractors is that fuel, trucking, material prices are extravagant at this point. So trucking is up by 40% is what we're being told by the industry. And then concrete, which is, normally about $110 a yard, we're looking at in excess of $150 a yard for concrete. And that's just raw material from the plant. So, as we're all experiencing that, prices are higher and continue to move forward in that area. So that was the first bid for the Palmer Boulevard project. The second one was for Gordon Drive and received two bids, one from Illinois Valley Paving in the amount of $637,059.79. And then the other one was from Truman Flat and Sons at $601,640.56. And what we had appropriated for that project was $530,000. Our estimate originally at the time of preparing the plans was $493,824. So, once again, we're seeing these elevated prices, and they're across the board. So we're looking at each pay item, making sure that there isn't an anomaly in there, or some sort of a skew where we would have made a mistake that a contractor would have capitalized on. It's just all the way through. It's everything is a percentage is higher across the board. So Pat has provided an outline there. We've worked with Pat and Kayla to go through potential courses of action to either award or defer these projects. So at this point, I'll hand it over to Pat to run through that summary.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yes.
You've got budget amount for engineering and then construction,
Yes.
and then you've got the bids down here below.
Yes.
Is that bid compared to, like, for the first one, the $75,000 for construction? Is that bid compared to that, or is it compared to the 75 plus the 9?
The bid amount, the budget amount is the $75,000.
Okay.
So that was for construction, and then the engineering is a percentage of that.
Okay.
As allowed by IDOT for their standard contract rates.
Okay.
So, the $75,000 is the actual construction amount, as bid, is what was estimated.
So we're comparing the 129,830 to the 75 and not the addition of the 9,000?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I didn't know if we were supposed to combine both of those because there's not a bid on the engineering part, so I didn't know.
Correct.
So what that would be 129,830, and then we'd pay a percentage of that
Yes.
for the engineering, right?
No.
No.
The engineering is $9,750.
Okay, that's,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, and that's,
Okay,
Yeah.
IDOT allows engineers that put MFT packages together to
okay,
take a percentage of what the project is supposed to be. So that estimate there is $9,750 for the patching job and $60,800.
that's
for
gonna
the
be
overlay.
no matter who does it or what the
That's right.
cost is?
Correct. That's the engineering amount to pull together the plans, design
Okay.
it, put it out to bid, and do the construction.
So that's
inspection for it.
fixed.
That's fixed.
Okay, I didn't know whether there were two budgets and then one on the bottom of the bid.
And that's why I tried to put the word construction next to it to match the construction bid up, okay? See
Okay,
where it says construction bid? So the low bid for the patching work was $114,916. We had estimated 75. We're short 39,916. If you come down to the Gordon Drive one, the budgeted amount for doing that work was $530,000. The low bid was $601,640. So we're short $71,640 there in our budgeted amount, okay? And that's budget. So the total amount that we're short for both projects is $111,556.56. For our 2023 budgeted expenditures, we had budgeted $857,487. Now that included those two projects up there, plus the patching work that our street department does, some of the overlay, some of the pothole fills, the salary for the street sweeper, and to pay off the loan on the street sweeper. So that stuff is also in that 857 number, okay? We go down a little bit farther. we've got a total at the beginning of the year of $929,269 cash on hand. The two projects above were budgeted out at $857,487. That left us $71,782 of cash on hand. The projected revenues for 2023 coming into the MFT program were at $580,466. So that put us cash on hand plus projected revenues at $652,248. So if we did all the projects and had that much there, we could take care of both of those projects.
Question on the estimated revenues. Is that going to be affected because the state did away with the gas tax? I'm just unclear on that, so I didn't know if we could
They
anticipate.
have given us no indication that we will not get our share of what the normal gas tax was. They've just lowered it or reduced it at the state level. Yeah.
Okay, so it shouldn't affect that part of it. I know that a lot of things affect that, but that one won't affect.
We have not got notified on that.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you, Pat.
So when we were looking at that, we were trying to figure out, does it make sense to do some of these projects this year or put them back till next year? Or do we have enough money to be able to take care of the two big projects? Option one shows how much money we would have left over. We would take $111,556 and use that to be able to make up the difference of our cash on hand. And that would leave us $540,691 going into next fiscal year, okay? Next fiscal year, we will most likely get somewhere close to the projected revenue that we were projecting this year. So that's about $580,000. So that'd put us over $1 million going into next year's MFT program and still get those two big projects done this year. If you look at option two, that one is to do just Gordon Drive. That would leave us with $655,000 going into next year before you add the $580,000 on top of it. And if we do the Plumber Drive project, the patches, but not do the big overlay project, we'd be at $1.1 million plus the $580,000. So we'd be at 1.6, almost $1.7 million next year.
As far as the timeline goes of all the other expenses, it's got to come out of this fund.
Mm-hmm.
Will the money fall right with the other expenses?
See, we have so much money cash on hand because a couple of years ago, last year, we used the bond money that we had instead of using MFT funds to finish the Oak Brook project. And then 2 years before that with COVID, we ended up not having an MFT program that year. So all that money still sat there in our account. So where most communities spend the money that comes in that year on their MFT program, we have the luxury of essentially not having to spend any of the money that comes in our MFT this year. It can all sit there and wait for a project for next year because we've got money.
Okay.
The state puts money in your MFT account and it's yours to spend as long as they okay it.
Okay. I just didn't, because we were talking about shortages and I wanted to make sure we didn't overlap anything.
It comes in on monthly balances.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every month you get your allotment. So there is money coming in every month to total that annual amount. So it's not like the payment comes on December 31st and you have to, drag it all the way out to that point and you're in a deficit. It's coming in as the year goes on.
Now, did I misstate any of that stuff, Jim?
What was that?
Did I misstate any of that?
No, that's accurate. Yeah.
So
Basically what Caleb Pat summarized on that sheet.
Is your microphone put?
Sorry, point at Jim. Is in the MFT fund, which is one of the few funds that we don't actively maintain a reserve balance in because of the way that it's funded and what its purpose is. The way that year one of COVID hit, where IDOT had difficulty getting projects approved and getting the MFT programs approved, we weren't able to do any of the big construction projects then. year 2 of that, we had bonded money available that had to be used for specified purposes. Our road work qualified for those specified purposes, so we used that funding there. So we started the year almost with 2 years worth of MFT deposits sitting there. So they're telling you, despite the fact that the bids are over what Jim had obviously did not take into account all of this inflation back in January when we put together these estimates.
Anyone could have guessed,
I was just saying, if you could have guessed, we could find other jobs for you, Jill. I mean, then.
Exactly, I wouldn't be here.
That funding exists to be able to complete those 2 projects that we plan to do despite the difference.
That's great.
But this allows us to do both those projects this year, still have a very good amount of money in the bank, and that will continue to grow through the remainder of this year into next year. And then we'll be looking at doing projects, and we'll have close to $1 million in there to be able to look at projects for the following year.
In a typical scenario, other than, all that I described, in a typical scenario, what you would be looking at this point in time is, are we reserving enough of what we think our MFT revenue is going to be in the coming months to make sure that we have adequate amount to buy salt to be able to keep this stuff through the winter? But because we have 2 years worth of receipts in there.
And then this, we don't touch the money that is set aside for the Build America that we're going to use to rebuild America.
Rebuild Illinois.
Rebuild Illinois.
Let's do both.
Let's
do both.
Let's just
get them at a time.
Get them all done.
Right?
We'll get it all here.
Yeah, we're gonna start here.
Everything starts at home.
Yes.
That's right.
Oh, that's corny.
So the question essentially
Again,
is, do you want to move to accepting both of these bids, or do you want to defer one or not, as we talk through, and Jim can explain, if you were to say, let's wait and rebid at the next cycle, because gas prices went down from July.
yeah.
Right. You move one of those projects, whichever one you decide to rebid, you move it into next year, timing wise, because 4 to 6 weeks to get bids rewritten, reissued.
Which one is most pressing, if we have to choose?
Well, okay, so first of all, let's go through the process. Now, since
If he talks into the microphone, the people on Facebook can hear what he's saying.
microphone doesn't work.
We don't.
No, it does. If you talk into it, Facebook can hear what you're saying.
Excellent. Okay, so the process is, because the bids are over original, resolution amount. So a few months past, we had resolutions for both of these projects to allocate a certain dollar amount for the projects. Now, because they're over that amount, we have to do a supplemental resolution. So that has to be reviewed and approved by IDOT. Once that's reviewed and approved by IDOT, if we're going to move forward with the project, then we submit the award package back to IDOT. They'll review these numbers, concur with them, and then give us a approval to use the MFT money moving forward. So it's all a process. It all takes time. It takes board action. So we'd be back here in 2 weeks with the new updated maintenance resolutions for those 2 projects, present those to the board. The board would vote on those, and then we'd move forward with IDOT for award of the bids. And then IDOT would review the bids, accept them, make recommendation back to the village. Yes, you can move forward, and that's a good use of MFT money moving forward. So just that process alone takes time. So now if we were to rebid the project, what we would do is pull together a maintenance resolution with new estimates on what we think it would be, submit those to IDOT. IDOT would review those, approve that allocation for the project with MFT money, and then we'd put them out to bid. It'd be another probably month-long process. So by the time that we would get new bids again, it would probably be towards the end of the year and too late to actually build the project this year. Our concern with that is not knowing what the economy is going to do, full well knowing a contractor has to bid this year for a project he's going to build next year, what those prices may be, because he's the one that has to take the risk at this point. If you can guess what prices are gonna be next year. I don't know.
All right, so option one, though, we can do, and the roads will get salted and plowed, and we have everything we need, and we're gonna pull some cash out to compensate for your error.
Nothing is, nothing is.
Where did that go?
See you later, Jim.
Yes, it was my error.
Oh, you mean you
said
didn't
it
anticipate
first.
inflation? I'm sorry.
Yes, months ago.
You couldn't predict that. You had no
I did
idea.
not predict that months ago.
Nah.
But these bids are good for how long?
Their contract.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying, but they, I mean,
Yes, we will work with the contractors, as soon as we know a course of path. Right now,
Okay.
we told both contractors at the bid opening that these are over the estimated amounts. Therefore, we will need some sort of board action to award these and move forward. I see no reason why either of these contractors, would not, honor these bids moving forward. We've discussed the projects with both of them, Truman Flat being the, low bidder for Gordon and Kinney Contractors being the low bidder for the Plummer Boulevard. It's just giving them a time frame to work this into their schedule. Normally with IDOT, you're talking months to award a project. I mean, it could be up to 6 months to a year to actually award a project. So these move fairly quick in what I would say industry standard is. So, but I would like to, by next meeting, have a recommendation for them to, are we gonna go forward with it, yes or no? And are we gonna rebid it, yes or no? Where do we stand? So as long as we notify them, soon, I don't see a problem with it at all.
Do the engineering numbers go up when you go back to IDOT?
I will hold the engineering numbers where they're at right now. So we did the design based on this, the design's done, so it doesn't,
we're done.
So the
it
engineering,
doesn't cost me any more based on inflation.
I wasn't sure if it was a percent of the amount for
It
construction.
typically is, but you put in the percent based on the form of the calculation and based on the type of activity, maintenance activity it is, and it works out as a formula, or you can override that formula and just put in that amount. So we would hold those numbers because that's what's already been expended for the design engineering, the bidding process and so forth.
Okay, good,
That work's
thanks.
already done, right?
That works done. So the only thing that we have to do is, construction engineering and documentation. So, and once again, it doesn't change our price based on, I'm inspecting a ton of asphalt. If that's $10, $20, $150, it doesn't change what I do.
Gotcha. Good.
Well, rebidding sounds like it's just long and drawn out, and the roads are already in need of repair, so.
Correct, and having two bids that close next to each other, and there's no abnormalities, it is in line with what we would expect. There's no real outliers there, nothing where, someone's bidding $1 for an item and the other contractor's bidding like $7,000 for that item. So we look through each of the items there and make sure that they're comparative and competitive bids, but with them being so close and having two bidders on each of them, and being respected contractors in the community, they make sense. There's nothing there that.
Are you familiar with the two contractors?
I am.
So we've probably done work with them before, would be my guess.
We have.
And they do good work.
They do.
Okay.
All right, so the recommendation is to move forward with a supplemental MFT resolution and to complete both projects. Is there a motion to move this to the next board
I
meeting?
would make that motion. That would be my opinion.
Do I have a second? Trustee Nice
I'll second that.
has moved and
second that.
trustee Tri has seconded.
Thank you.
So we will pull together those documents. I will present those at the next board meeting. We'll get those signed, submitted to IDOT along with the bid package currently to get this moved along as quickly as possible because we'd like to work on this year.
And
There's no
thanks for
chance
the
it's going to
sheet.
get done this year.
Good detail.
Yeah, thanks for the
Great
details.
detail.
That's great.
Great detail, great thought. Nice sheet. Thanks, Pat.
Couple other projects that we have going on, continuing with the park projects. As you see over at the J.C.'s Park, there's a big trench dug all the way around the basketball court. So
Yeah.
if we could get more than like 2.5 days without rain, we will pour that back in. Actually, right now, the contractor's slated for Thursday to put that in. So we should have it poured by the end of the week. And then the following week, we'll do the restoration, seed, mulch, and back to action. But has not stopped the kids from playing basketball.
Oh, they were over there on the way here.
They just hop over the trench and keep going.
Good tape. The tape works.
The what? Tape does not. First day, all the cones were in the trench with the tape.
They haven't ripped it down yet, though.
Oh, that's
so good.
hilarious.
What was that?
They haven't ripped it down.
They haven't worked it out.
I haven't.
No, they're working with us.
That's right.
They're cooperating.
Good residents.
Working rain in the forecast.
They're cooperating.
Yeah.
You just jinxed him now. Congratulations, John.
Called contractors.
Jim, call him on Thursday.
So, second one is we're working with a couple of different avenues on signal improvements at Walnut and Gordon and Walnut and Park. So the first avenue is that we met with the contractor that does the maintenance activities for the village and kind of get their feeling for, okay, what do we need? What are you seeing are the faults with this system? Why are they not working the way that they should be working? And so we went through, with Pat, ourselves, and the contractor, came up with a couple of ideas, and they recommended bringing in the manufacturer to also look at that. So we have a meeting next week with the supplier manufacturer that also does programming of the signals and get an assessment of what equipment needs to be updated, how do we make them function better. So two things that we're going to do is we're going to come up with an itemized list and a bidding package to improve those signals, whether it's the cameras, whether it's timing, what's the issue, what do we need to do with those. And then the other one is look at a backup system for those. Now, the current systems that are available are compatible with the systems that we have. So with anything nowadays with lead time on equipment, they recommend that you have a controller, in hand, and if there anything that ever happens to that cabinet, you just take the controller, plug it in, and it just keeps running, as opposed to calling a contractor saying, can you replace the controller? And they go, yes, it'll be 6 to 8 weeks, and you have flashing red for 6 to 8 weeks at both of those intersections. So
Sounds brilliant.
we're optimistic on what's needed there, that it'll be minimal. We think that one of the signals will probably need new video detection system, cameras, and that's the one over at Gordon. We think that Park is going to be more of a programming issue and timing issue. So we're going to work within the ARPA funds to do that project as appropriated by the village board. Let's see, what else do we have here? Pond design, we're moving forward with pond design at the electric yard, shooting for construction here this fall, early winter, which would be an excellent time to be able to do that. So moving forward with those plans and getting that done. So
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Marking those items off is kind of nice.
Yes. All right.
We apologize for any comments that may have harmed your feelings.
Oh,
I'm used to it.
you have to, you have to joke sometimes.
Better estimates next year. Better estimates next year.
Thank goodness you didn't cry. That would have been awful.
Have wipes there. Okay.
Thanks, Jim.
Village manager update.
Well, one of the items was we were talking about the bid packages, and the other item that I want to talk to you about tonight is closing the dump. If there's a consensus on the board of closing the dump down, Shane has drawn up a gate and fencing diagram and having a video camera down there, and if the board is okay with moving forward with that, we'll start getting prices of taking care of that stuff and get it in place. And then once we get that in place, then our branch pickup team will go down there and clean up everything, and hopefully that'll be the last time they'll have to do it down there.
Do we want to move forward with it now and put it on the next meeting?
When we have those designs, you said they're working on designs, and
All it really is that a few fence posts and a gate that goes back and forth that moves across using either a code or a clicker, or whether you type in a passcode. So our employees will have those, and I would think that the sooner that we get that in place and people start realizing that that isn't a dump anymore, then when the pond is built and we're ready for people to go down there and take advantage of the pond, that we can leave the gate open all during the day and stuff, and hopefully not have anybody fly dumping, but we will have a camera directly aimed at any vehicle that comes in and out of there. So, but if you guys are ready to do that, I can start pulling prices together.
I don't see anything wrong with getting the information,
Okay.
but I don't think we can just like do it overnight. I mean, I think we got to give the citizens a fair amount of lead time. Like we couldn't say, hey, we're closing it next week. I mean, what type of time frame are you thinking of?
Well, I was going to kind of leave that up to you, and I was going to turn around and also see how long it would take to get the fence in place and the gate. My guess is it'll be a couple months, you know.
So if it starts to align with Jim's timeline,
Yeah.
an ideal goal would be to have the security in place, the ability to gate it at the same time it turns into an active construction site. And then you're keeping people out of an active construction site. But tonight's kind of the question that Pat seems to be asking.
But
This is the avenue you want to go down, where should we spend the time to go out, get the pricing, and start to look for the bids to do that work and schedule.
the thing is like Dave said, if you start putting the word out now that we're closing the dump, then people will start planning on alternative sites. It happened that way in Auburn. Theirs was a little quicker. They said, we're closing the dump, and that's what happened. They got a lot of pushback at first, but I think if we keep talking about it, it gets in the paper, it gets on social media, that there's no plans to have that as a dump. We're going to turn it into a nice recreational park down there, and that we don't want branches and trees and everything else.
Do we have a consensus on moving this forward, not to the next board meeting, but just so he can get his information together?
And I'm not sure we have to vote on that. I think that's just a policy to say that, hey, the dump is closed, because I don't think there was ever an ordinance created saying there is a dump.
There are references to
Burn piles.
and stuff,
Yeah.
so there would be.
Forever stricken.
It's the right time to clean those out.
Yeah.
To make the appropriate modifications to the code to remove those references to the existence of one. So I'm sure Greg will come up with something.
I think I have a question. We just bid that out, and we just did a 1-year contract on that. And that bid included cleaning that up all year long. So if we close it down and they no longer have to clean that up, where does that put us as far as, did we overpay for that 1 year of
Well, if you've been down there lately, you can see there's at least 3 months worth of stuff down there that they're going to have to clean up, which they know that. They were wanting to know whether the gate was going to go up quickly or whether it was going to be a couple months out, because there's so much stuff down there that they made it through the town, I think, in a week and a half this past time. And surprisingly, well, not surprisingly, but it was the first time we ever got, hey, your tree trimming company did a really good job. They actually sent an email to me and put it on social media. So they liked the way that they pull the grinder behind the truck, pick up all the stuff, grind it up right there, rake up all of the debris, clean it all up, clean up the street, and then move on and do the next one. So, the middle of July and August are not the most times that you have branches out. It's usually in the spring and in the fall. And I think they'll see that those numbers will pick up as the year goes on. But if it's going to take a few months to clean up the dump or to get it closed, they're going to have to clean it up at least 2 times, maybe 3.
Okay, and do they normally, when they bid that out, did they bid that out, cleaning that out once a month, or did they bid that out cleaning once a quarter, or how did they bid that out? Do you know?
I do not know. I know they have to go through the town once a month, and they have to keep that cleaned up. So I would assume that when they're doing it for a month, they're gonna take care of keeping that cleaned up down there for that month too.
I don't believe that RFP spec'd
Yeah.
when, how many times? Because it's kind of, does it need it or not, you know?
But if the dump is truly what it was supposed to be, residents in Chatham that wanted to take the stuff down there themselves, my guess is that stuff will be sitting on the curb in front of their house, and these guys will be coming there to pick it up. Now, if there was private businesses that came down there and dropped stuff off, you know, we've notified all of the businesses around here that it's not a place for commercial dumping.
So it doesn't change, theoretically, it doesn't change the overall work that was scoped in that RFP.
Yeah.
Because the branches that they're supposed to pick up will be somewhere. What it does is eliminate the excess that we were getting.
So,
When do you anticipate construction of the pond?
That's
My
what Jim
guess
was
is-
mentioning.
Yeah.
Jim is working on putting plans together along with Massey and Massey. There are park landscape architects. They will put something together. They will put that out for bid. After we get a bid, they'll turn around and take a look at it and see when they can start doing the work.
It won't be until next spring.
We were hoping that they would be able to tackle it this winter when the ground is mostly frozen and be able to dig it out that way.
Jim had said that, right?
Yeah, he did. It just seems awful quick to get that work scheduled for any local contractor that's booking a year out. They haven't even put it out to bid, right?
They have not.
So you got to go through all that yet.
We do.
So you think legitimately, even if he said that, you really could start the project in the winter? I mean, that seems like a really quick time for someone to schedule building a pond. I mean, you know, they just booked. I mean, I know I can't get anything built.
Digging a hole, so you're not.
Yeah,
it's-
it's excavating still, you know.
But once you get past the frost line, you know, it's no different digging now than it would be, you know, then, except for maybe the groundwater isn't quite a problem for you. That's our goal.
Got it.
If we can meet it, great. If it has to hold off till spring and we have to fight the rains and everything else, that's gonna make it a lot tougher, so.
if we close this, will we have any more additional fees to clean up that spot down there?
Will we what?
Will we have any more additional fees to clean up that spot?
No, it's covered right now.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
The only thing that's down
Is there
there-
anything else we're gonna have to go do to make it clean, to,
Back behind our shops, over the years, the guys have hauled dirt and broken up concrete and stuff like that and piled it back there with the idea that out of sight, out of mind.
yeah.
It's not in the way of anything right now, but somewhere down the line, if we ever wanted to expand any of our shops or do anything different back there, those areas are gonna need to be cleaned up. And it's gonna need to be sorted. They're gonna have to go through and pull the concrete out and have the dirt over on this pile. But we're not there right now.
Okay, but will that have to be done before we do the lake or the pond?
No.
Okay.
It's well over near the tracks. The pond is over in the field that's on the other side of the shops,
Okay,
on the east side of the property.
There's a huge, massive building between those two areas.
Yeah.
A massive parking.
well, I didn't know, because you just brought it up as if that was gonna be extra charge to get everything cleaned up, so when you brought it up, I was,
Big area back there. behind
yeah.
the fence.
But it should not be leaf bags, branches, trees,
Okay.
that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what when you added that, I didn't know if that was gonna have to be all in there together.
So we just need.
When we bust up like Route 4 to turn around and fix a water main out here, those guys scoop it up, put it in the dump truck, haul it down there, and then dump it.
You never can tell when we might need that.
Well, you're right, and if we had the right equipment, we could probably drag the stuff out, let it dry out, pull the rock out of it and some of the asphalt be able to take advantage of using the dirt. But
So you want permission, though, to move forward?
I would like some guidance that you guys are interested in
Consensus.
closing the dump. And if you are, then I will start pulling together prices for that stuff and come up with a timeline on how long it will take to get it in place.
I would definitely love to know that information.
Okay.
That's just me, but
Yeah.
I'd love to know.
I'm interested in getting the information. I think I wouldn't be interested in closing it until we know when we're going to start constructing the pond.
All right.
Agreed. Yeah, information's the key. Start with.
So, information.
I can take care of that.
Thank you.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. The next item is the Public Property Recreation Committee. Didn't meet.
Nothing to report. We meet next month. Yep.
They meet next month. Is that on the schedule of meetings? The Utility Oversight Committee, we met last night. There were a couple of things discussed. The agenda item was refunding an amount due to high usage in the amount of $69.98 to Mrs. Darlene Judd. And we've agreed upon that. And the other items discussed were the late fee for utilities was suggested to raise it or to lower it to 5%. And is there any discussion on that? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, it was brought to our attention. It would be nice to look at it. But we're also aware, and I think the public's aware of that, we need to figure out how much revenue that late fee brings in. And we need to do some comparison of the other people around us and where they are, and just look at it and see where we are. So if Pat, if you're
Can we
getting,
throw you some of those answers right now? Riverton, Auburn, Rochester, Jerome, Williamsville, Athens, Petersburg, as of the last time I looked at this, which was 2018. So
2018,
it has not changed. I can give you their code references if you want to go look them right up. All 10%.
okay.
Late fee accounts for about 1% of the total revenue that goes into the utility funds.
Okay. Can we have some actual hard numbers on that instead of percentages?
Well, actually, I asked Kayla today, and because we use the money that comes in from the late fees as part of our budget, she projects what the revenues are based off of last year's late payments.
Okay.
So this year she projected that we would bring in $116,500 from the electric fund and $78,000 from the water fund. So that totaled out to a total of $194,500. So you can see it's not an insignificant amount.
Right. Do we have a total of how much we actually did bring in last year?
Yes, it's in last year's budget, but I don't know what it is off the top of my head. This is what we estimated that it would be this year based off of last year's numbers. Actually, I think she said this was a little bit more conservative.
Okay. I think it's just a conversation that was brought up, and so we thought we would just look into it. But I'd like to see what actual revenue was actually brought in last year and not the estimates, so that we can verify that we're on par for everything.
Okay.
In 2018, that's 4 years ago, so they may have went up, so we may actually need to look and see if they've gone up. And that would be even another reason for us to say,
All their code sections, and you can do it.
okay,
It's not hard. Just
yeah, that's no big deal. I just didn't know if we had that. So yeah, I don't mind looking them up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? I think we covered it.
Yeah, does
Basically-
anybody else up here have a comment on that? I mean, am I the only one that wants to look into that? Because I don't want to waste anybody's time.
I certainly, if you want to look into it, I think it's relevant.
There's not a problem with looking into it. I just don't know what realistic changes can be made based off of the numbers that have been presented. I'm afraid if we cut it in half, there could be an issue. I also think that when someone is late, or when there are people who are late, it affects, that cost is transferred over to other customers. And I wouldn't want to raise rates in any way because we've lowered a late fee.
Well, I think that
Significantly.
due diligence that have been provided here, the 10% of different municipalities, that's good information.
I think we
Yeah,
should.
we've done our homework.
Comparable.
Well,
Well, again-
it is great information, but I do, it was 2018, so it'd be kind of curious to see if they've adjusted or changed them in the last 4 years.
I do think we should stay comparable to other.
Oh, I don't agree too.
municipalities.
And I think
But
the
that was-
conversation last night was not to come in and change it today.
Yeah.
It was to hear the people and hear their request, to look into it and make sure that we were on par with everybody else. And just do our homework on it so that if it comes up again, we can say, hey, we did look into it and we are where we need to be.
We did revisit it during the pandemic, and it was revisited before that in 2018. So we do keep, I think it's good to keep coming back to it and just maybe have a discussion
So-
and check where we're at.
2018, 2019? Okay, so
20, wasn't it 20?
Multiple times during.
Yes.
20, okay.
Yeah, originally,
It was
Reduced, right?
2 weeks to flatten the curve originally.
Well, and that's fine, and I don't think any of us, other than Kristen, was on there in that time too, so.
Yeah, no, I remember the discussions, and so to me, I think it's good though for new board members to hear all this and hear how these rates impact the community as a whole.
yeah, we originally, I mean, if you look at your bill, it says it's due on the 16th of the month. Okay? And then when we started having these discussions a few years back, it was brought up that to give a grace period before we start putting the late fee on there. So we increased that to 5 more days. So the late fee doesn't go on the account until the 22nd day of the month. So then it's a 10% penalty that only goes on there one time. It's not compounding each day. It's just a one-time 10% penalty for being late. Then after that, you get the IVR phone call telling you that you're on the shut-off list. You still have time to be able to come in and pay your bill and get off the shut-off list. This past month, we shut off August, I think it was 1st or 2nd. First. And then it was like around, I think, 87 people. And then less than a week after those were all shut off, we were down to 5 people left that were on the shut-off list. So.
All right, and the only other thing that was mentioned was the net metering and language and the customer service manual. Hasn't been updated yet, but I learned that the manual is updated annually. And is there, when was it last updated? The customer service manual? I feel like that wasn't that long ago.
It was right after we added all of the allowing people to go back and make an loan policy. That's probably been 2 years ago.
I mean,
So something got missed on the solar credit
It
thing?
hasn't been updated since we changed the solar ordinance.
All right.
Which is what that comment was, so
I can fix that tomorrow.
there we go.
the board adopts it every time you change it, so.
Yeah.
And then there was a suggestion to include a glossary of terms in the manual so that people understand the language.
Glossary of terms.
It's gonna take more than tomorrow.
I'm gonna leave that up to Trustee Fletcher to run that.
The net metering and billing language that we got done.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's the big problem they have, is the understanding the difference between the net billing and net metering, and making sure that that language is proper into the code.
It's kind of new language anyway. So that's all I have for the utility. Are you whispering?
Good job.
Do we have any public comments on village business? Hearing none. Our schedule of meetings, I have to put my glasses on for this. The committee of the whole is, the next committee of the whole is, well, a month from now, September 13th. Want to get that date right. And we have no reason for a closed session. So I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Nice has made a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And Trustee Ferguson has seconded. This meeting is adjourned. There we go.
Time to go to football. Hey.